doing this instead, but hopefully you all will stay up Shavuos night in your own homes and learn. Zev, if you open up your windows, I'll open up my windows. You're close enough that you might be able to hear me and Chaim Zev when we're learning, and kind of sneak down the alley. I'm not sure you want to do that, but kind of sneak down the alley. You could kind of stay, like Hillel, in the Talmud when he didn't have enough money to get in. He climbed up onto the sky roof and put his ear up against the sky roof. Okay, so good. So we were up to okay. So here we go. So yesterday we ended off with commandment number I guess 15, right, which was sort of not to hate fellow Jews. That sometimes this mitzvah is so apropos because sometimes they seem to be the ones that especially get our goal. They know how to kind of press every button we have. So there's a special commandment that we can't hate them. So right, you can't do that because the commandment is lo tisla sachicha b'vavecha. Can't hate your brethren in your heart. So now we go ahead and we have mitzvah number 16. Okay, and this mitzvah is called to reprove. Okay, what does it mean to reprove?
To rebuke someone if they're doing something wrong.
To rebuke somebody if they're doing something wrong. Okay, now this happens to be one of our favorite commandments. Right? People love telling other people what they're doing wrong. That's a popular thing, I guess, that we talk about. Yes, Charlie. Charlie, you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Can you post the commandments?
Oh, okay, yeah. Good. Hang on a second. And we'll do that. Hang on a second. Okay. 1 second. The problem is when I post it, that I don't get to see all your beautiful faces. Alrighty, so.
Oh, good.
All right, so here we are. We're on commandment number 16, which is to reprove other people, right? When you see them, seeing them doing something wrong, so then at that point in time, right, you're supposed to try to the best of your ability to go ahead and to try to correct them to do it right. Now, this is a very, very delicate commandment. Right. This is all a very delicate commandment because anytime you have to tell somebody they're doing anything wrong, right? It's a very sensitive topic, and the Talmud actually says that just like there's a mitzvah to tell somebody something that they will hear, it's a mitzvah not to tell them something that they won't hear. And Talmud says already when one of the great sages died, it says we lost in the world somebody the ability to go ahead and to be able to give rebuke or to receive rebuke. So rebuke is something that is very, very hard to go ahead and to is something it's very hard to do properly, right? And so it's something that is I don't even know how to even say it. It's just really hard to do properly. What do you think are some of the things that are needed, right, to give rebuke properly?
Not to embarrass the other person.
Good, not to embarrass somebody. So normally we're great at going over to someone's shoulder and say, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, right? That's kind of a good way not to embarrass them, huh? But Tom, you like that? You think that's a appropriate way not to embarrass somebody, right? Like that's right. One way. What else?
We're offering a suggestion.
Yeah.
Try to get them to believe that it's their idea rather than yours.
Brilliant. That's a great idea. Meaning, you want people, right? You want people go ahead and to if you can make them think that it's their idea, right? That's a great way to get them to accept it, right? You know, I went to say, oh, Rabbi, you're saying good. That's exactly what you just said. This is your idea, and I said that wasn't anything that I said. You're just trying to make it my idea, right? So I'm going to accept what you're going to say, right? So, right, but doing that is really something a very good way. Right? Make them think that.
How about being
way?
sincere?
Be sincere. Good.
Start out with a compliment.
Start out with a compliment. Okay, Ira, good. Ira, you're a lovely person. Please
But
put your video on. No, sorry.
don't do it in public.
Yeah. Right. Don't do it in public. Right. Do it in private. Thank you, Ira. I muted everybody, so they didn't really hear what I said anyway. Right. Don't do it in public. Love them. You know, you got to be able to kind of find in your heart, right, that you head, and that your love for them sort of oozes through, right? Because if they feel you're doing this because, you know, for any other reason but their best interest, right, they're gonna have a hard time accepting what you're saying.
Rabbi, Dale Carnegie in his book said that if somebody's really upset with you, to tell them, I don't blame you one iota for feeling the way you do. And that stops them in their tracks immediately.
Right.
However, right. I would, and you go on to what you want them to do.
Right. Right. Excellent. Right. Take the responsibility or the onus upon yourself, right?
Right.
Like that's a way to go ahead and to make sure it doesn't happen, right? So all these are different ways to learn to reprove somebody, right? So you want to say it in a way or in a fashion that it's not going to hurt them, and they'll be able to accept what you're saying. And just like it's a mitzvah to say something that they'll accept, it's also a mitzvah not to say something that they won't accept. Right? So if you think that they're not going to accept it, so then at that point in time you want to go ahead and you want to don't say it. Right? There's nothing to be gained. Right? You might feel a little better. But don't do it, right? So you have to, right? The mitzvah to reprove somebody, and it might be also find the right time to say something. And sometimes when a person gets upset or gets angry, right? So what happens is they're not going to hear a darn tootin' word that you're saying, right? And you sort of have to go ahead and you have to right? So you have to wait for a time that they're ready to hear what you're saying. And so all these things are just important, right? Are important ways to go ahead and to reprove somebody, right? Now it's very fascinating, right? Because what happens if you don't reprove somebody?
Well, they'll continue doing what they've been doing.
Okay, good. Okay, so good. So they're going to continue doing what they're doing. So they're whatever, no better, no worse, or whatever it is. The problem is, and this is very interesting, is that if you go ahead and you can reprove somebody, you are liable. You are liable for what they are doing. Okay, means that this will come clearly on your record, right?
You're saying if you don't say something?
What?
You're saying if you don't say something?
If you don't say something, and if you would say something, you can turn them for the better. Then at that point in time, you have responsibility for it, and it's as if you've done it. And comes Yom Kippur, you have to ask God for mechila. You have to ask God for forgiveness.
Right? Are you better off, Rabbi, if you're not sure they'll take it well? Are you better off not doing it at all?
very, 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 very possible, right? It's very, very possible that absolutely.
Have you had a personal situation where you've reproved someone that went south?
Oh, you asked the question the other way. Right? The answer is a lot of times it goes south, right? And so you have to be careful what you're saying or what to say, what not to say. You know, it's not a simple thing, right? It's not a simple thing at all, right? You have to make sure that you do it with the utmost care and love, compassion, the right place, the right time. There are a lot of things that go into it. And
So
and
you
no,
better
right,
not
and like
do it
and
at
that
all.
what?
Are you better off not doing it at all because there's so many pitfalls?
Well,
So
not really, because if the person is doing something that's really dangerous to himself, and you don't stop him, or whatever means you have to do, if you ignore it, he'll go on, continue, and maybe hurt himself. Let's say a person wants to commit suicide, you happen to see it. If you don't reprove him, then you're guilty, in my opinion, of letting him kill himself. You really need to intervene and do your best to get him to stop that behavior.
right, and the answer is that you really have to really think about it. You see, what happens is and you can't give it your 20-second good old boy try. Okay, you know, like right, like okay, like I'm gonna try it. You know, I'm not good at it. Forget about it. I'm out of here. Right? I mean, let me ask you a question. Let's ask the question this way. If I would pay you $10,000 for each person that you can help correct one thing about that person, how many people would you go and speak to?
If I am unsuccessful, do I have to pay you the $10,000?
The answer is if you put in all the effort to be successful, and you weren't successful, you don't have to pay me anything.
But if I do it halfway, then there's a negative consequence.
There's such an expression that it's not proper for a rabbi to say. But if you do a half, I'll leave it to your imagination.
A half-baked effort.
Right, half-baked. Thank you. I knew there was a better word for it. Right, if you do it in a half-baked effort, so then at that point in time, then you can't say. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't have it from both ends. You really have to try your best, right? And then if you try your best, so then like you put in your best efforts, then it counts. Right? You go ahead and you potchk around and you go ahead and you're busy messing around, right? So then heck, right? That doesn't really, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't work so well, right? And so that kind of is something that and that's why it's such a fine point over here, because you're darned if you do and if you're darned if you don't. I'll give you an example. You want to hear a prime example? Okay. Jewish people at the end of 40 years in the desert, the water, right, that was coming from the rock, right, went and it stopped coming out. God told Moses, go speak to the people, right? Take Aaron, go speak to the people, right? And then go talk to the rock. And so Moses goes to the rock and talks to the rock. Nothing doing. He says, well, maybe if God said talk to the rock, he really meant talk to the rock. You know, like, when somebody said, I'm going to go talk to my kid, well, I have to talk to the rock. And so he goes ahead, and he goes ahead and he wants to talk to the rock, right? And so he takes his staff and he hits the rock, and water dribbles out. And then he hits it again, and water comes gushing out. Right? We're good? What was the consequence of that action?
He lost the ability to go into the land of Israel.
Okay, good. Good. Excellent. You lost the ability to go into the land of Israel. Now let me ask you all a question. Why didn't Aaron go into the land of Israel?
Because he died.
What did you say, Judy?
He died.
Yeah, but why did he die? Why didn't God let him into the land of Israel?
He got food poisoning in the Chinese restaurant.
Right? Why didn't Aaron go in? That is the Talmud. Aaron doesn't go. Oh, not that it says the Talmud, says the Torah. Aaron doesn't go in because he hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock.
Aaron or Moses?
Ah. Torah
That
says
was
both.
Moses.
Aaron and Moses
That
both
wasn't
were helping.
Aaron. Aaron challenged actions of Moses. He and Miriam both did, but Miriam got punished.
No. That was a different action, right? Very good. That was a different action that Miriam actually spoke to Aaron about, right? And Miriam got punished, and Aaron got a flash punishment. But it's very interesting that Aaron gets tagged with this commandment, because he gets tagged because Moses hit the rock, right? And he didn't say anything. He didn't stop him from doing it, right? So this thing about reproving and taking your friend's responsibility, right? That is a very serious thing, right? Meaning that what happens is that Aaron doesn't hit the rock, but he didn't stop Moses from hitting the rock, or didn't reprove him, and so therefore Aaron gets the same consequence as Moses did. Right? So learning how to reprove somebody is something that we really have to learn how to do. You know, or in our case, it's not even with words, but sometimes it's just even with action, right? Meaning that we go ahead and it's the way that we act and what we do, right? Like those are responsibilities that we have, right? That if we don't go ahead and we don't act in a proper way, right? And so then we could be responsible for those things. And that's why in Yom Kippur, right? That's why in Yom Kippur we actually say, right, because we sinned before you, right? If we say it in plural, to somebody we said, what are you talking about? I never was involved, right? Those things never happened to me. The answer was, sure, it didn't happen to you, but there was somebody who you could have went ahead and you could have brought to doing the right thing, and instead of doing that, you went ahead and you didn't do anything. As you didn't say anything, or you didn't act the appropriate way, or you could have corrected him and you didn't.
Do we see that at the golden calf?
On the golden calf is another prime example, right? Now these, right, and the kind of like as I'm talking to you, I'm kind of merging it. It's a responsibility we have one towards another, right? But the golden calf is another one, right? How many Jews were involved in the golden calf?
What about 3,000?
3,000. Right, 3,000. How many Jews? What happened because the Jews were involved in the golden calf?
They died.
They were killed.
No, killed, right? Or we lost, right? Means before the golden calf, after we stood at Mount Sinai, we became invincible. We were never going to die. But because we were involved with the golden calf, right? So then at that point in time, right? At that point in time, right? Because we went ahead and we were the regular Jewish people let this nonsense go on, so we were held responsible for it, right? And so that becomes, right, that becomes an issue of us doing, right, what we, right, of again the responsibility that we have. So this could fall again underneath this mitzvah of reproving oneself, right, of going ahead and of, right, that we're commanded to reprove, right, to reprove our fellow man, right, to give them a tochacha, to give them a rebuke, right.
I got a question. What happened to the golden calf afterwards? Did they melt it down? What did they do with it?
Moses came down, he ground it up, he put it into water and gave all the Jewish people to drink, and those people that were involved, but we couldn't tell, right? We couldn't tell that they were supposed to die. They died by drinking that water. Similar to the section in the Torah where it talks about the wife, and when it talks about the sota, right? The sota, like that's a responsibility. Okay, mitzvah number 17. Oh, very interesting. Not to embarrass other people, right? Same place, right? We're commanded not to embarrass other people, right? Is that we can't embarrass other people, right? Now this, by the way, is a very, very big commandment in the Torah, right? It's right. The Torah goes on to say that somebody who embarrasses, right, who embarrasses somebody else, right, they could lose their share in the world to come, right? And so we have to really make sure that we don't go ahead and we don't embarrass somebody else. And certainly even when we're going ahead and we're rebuking somebody, right? We're going ahead and rebuking somebody. So then at that point in time, right, that could you have to be done it with you can't embarrass them. Right, period. Now, and this is very important because who does this apply to that you can't embarrass them?
To anyone.
Anyone. What about your kids?
I don't know. Same thing. I would say the same thing. You shouldn't embarrass your child.
Right. So not only you shouldn't, you're not allowed to. Right? And this is a very tough thing. Because sometimes that we go ahead and that we're your kid does something wrong and you want to correct them, right? But the other people around. So what do you do?
Call them to the side and you talk to them privately.
Right. There's something like that. You have to do something that is you have to make sure that you're doing it in a way that's not going to cause, right? That's not going to cause someone to be embarrassed. Yes, Tom.
Is there a different consequence for intentional embarrassment versus unintentional embarrassment?
Okay. But the answer is, of course, every commandment, there's a difference between intentional and unintentional, right? There's not one, right? Meaning any sin that you do, any sin, it breaks down. I think they're basically like 5 categories. Okay, there are 5 categories that every sin could be broken down to. Okay, category number 1 is where you did it on purpose, with intent, with warning. Right? I mean, you did it, right? Full blown, right? Full disclosure. You know what you're doing. You got warned, right? Etc. You were not out of balance. So your sugar levels weren't low, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it was just straight up. And even that, there were 2 categories there. Are you doing it to spite God? Are you doing it to spite God? Or are you doing it not to spite God? You're doing it because, hey, the cheeseburger tastes good, right? Or are you doing it, for a different reason, right? All those 3 things have 3 different consequences that come with it. And then it's done by mistake. And then, well, how much of a mistake is it, right? Was it you were lazy, so you didn't think about it, or it really was a mistake? And then there's something called an act of God, right? Where it was something that was totally beyond your control. Right? And all of them, the consequences for all those things are all different. Right? They're all different, and they can't be compared one to a second one at all. Right? Right? The following, right? I mean, intent intent is very, very important when it comes to this type of stuff. Right? Meaning, are you trying to fight God? You're trying to go ahead and to reject what God is doing?
So I'm thinking, Rabbi, between man to man, and I'm thinking specifically for certain people who use humor to illustrate a point. There is a big risk in using humor in embarrassing someone unintentionally. Have you come across that yourself at all?
Yeah, no. Well, that's for sure. I mean, when is it okay to make a joke about somebody? Right? When is it okay to make a joke about somebody? Or is that considered like a is it a joke at somebody else's expense?
Like we use Ira a lot to make jokes about, but that's probably not a good thing, right, Ira?
Well,
It doesn't bother me.
He's so embarrassed he won't even show his face on the Zoom.
Yeah, doesn't it say in the Talmud that if you say something to somebody and make them turn red, it's like killing them?
Yes. No. But actually, there's 2 levels, 3 levels, right? The one is red, right, where they red in their face. The other one where it turns white, right? The blood drains,
Yeah.
right? You get to a place where it's totally drained from them, right? So then at that point in time, it's like you've killed them. Right, so it's not a simple thing.
What's worse?
Right, so it's not a simple thing. Say it again, Aaron. Aaron.
What's worse? Is it lashon hara or embarrassing?
Okay, I'm putting you. I just put you back on mute. I think we're getting some feedback from we listening. Yep. Okay. What's worse, lashon hara or embarrassing somebody? Oh my gosh. I'm not prepared for this for tonight. This is a tough question. It's both are terrible.
They're almost
right?
the same thing, aren't they?
No.
No, they could be the same thing. Because
Right, if
lashon
you're
hara,
talking directly to, if you're talking
lashon
to
hara,
somebody,
if I go to Tom and I say something not nice about you, right, and you never find out, did I transgress a commandment?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, right. It has nothing to do with you being embarrassed or not.
No, I'm talking about if you say something to somebody directly that embarrasses them, most of the time that's probably also lashon hara, isn't it?
Not necessarily.
No.
No. Not.
I mean, if you call somebody a name, if you say something like that to somebody, that would also be lashon hara. To insult somebody
It
that
has to be
embarrasses.
somebody else you're saying it to.
To insult somebody that
Is it?
embarrasses.
If you tell somebody something to somebody and it embarrasses them, right? And that's first of all, that's not necessarily lashon hara.
Passing
Could be.
false rumor about somebody is not right. It's lashon hara.
And a false rumor is a worse category called rechilus, right? Rechilus is a place of rechilus is slander, right? Something false is slander.
Right.
Right. And so that's. I mean, all these cases, it's this, the idea of not to embarrass others, right? You have to be very careful. It's something that's not a simple answer, right? It's not a simple thing to do. Okay, so now, fine. So then let's move on then to the next commandment, number 18, not to oppress the weak. Okay, not to oppress the weak. So now here, this commandment of not to oppress the weak is in many it comes in many ways, right? What would be a way of not oppressing the weak?
Don't be a bully.
Don't be a bully. Okay.
Taking advantage of somebody when they're down.
Taking advantage when somebody's down, even though normally there might be a strong person. Taking advantage when somebody's down, that'll be oppressing the weak, right? I'm using different types of things. I mean, whether it's financial, whether it's words, whether in many different capacities, right? Not oppressing the weak, right, comes across that way, right? And it's very interesting, right? Because we say in davening every day, right? Hashem mashpil geim, right? Umagbiya shfalim, right? It's magbiya. God is mashpil geim means those that are haughty, he makes low. Umagbiya shfalim, those that are low, he brings up, right? And then that we go ahead that God kind of takes care or takes the side of somebody who is on a weaker, right? Who is on a weaker downside, right?
Rabbi, Ariel said something about not to hurt the illegal.
Right.
But being that they're illegal, they're violating the law.
Right.
And so if they get incarcerated, I don't see where you're hurting them.
No, that's not taking advantage of them. The question is, but if somebody is, just because they're here illegally doesn't mean that you can take advantage of them. You can't oppress them, right? Putting them in
Well,
jail.
they pay them less than they would an American person, you know.
Right. Putting them in jail is they broke the law, so that we follow the laws of the country. Unless we don't like them, because then we don't follow the laws. So it's convenient to tell everyone else to follow them. Right? The answer is but we follow the laws of the country. But it is a general. This is a general idea of going ahead and making sure that we don't oppress, right? We don't oppress those that are weak, right? Is to right, not to oppress the weak, right? We have that whether with words, whether with in business, right? We're not allowed to go ahead and we're not allowed to oppress, right? To oppress the weak person, the person who is in a weak situation. Okay, so now we go ahead and we move on to the next commandment. Next commandment is commandment number 19, not to speak derogatory of others. Okay, right? Not to speak derogatory of others. Right. So now we come to my lashon hara. Right. This is a classic example of lashon hara. Okay, that we're not allowed to speak lashon hara. We can't speak bad about other people. This is probably the hardest commandment in the entire Torah. Okay, it's probably the hardest commandment in the Torah is the commandment of not speaking lashon hara. Okay, because lashon hara has many different things. Because not only is it if we speak derogatory, if somebody comes in and asks us about somebody, and we roll our eyes, we shrug our shoulders, right? All those cases are cases of where, right? We are. All those are cases of where we're going ahead and we are giving over derogatory information. So it's not only through words; it's also with actions.
Can you give an example?
Somebody comes in and says, hey, do you know Ira? Right? And you roll your eyes and go, right? He says, okay, that's all I needed to know, and walks out.
So let me ask you, Rabbi, if somebody was born dumb without the ability to speak,
right?
Would they be therefore exempt from ever doing lashon hara?
No, because you could write lashon hara, right? You could type it. You could
also
roll
listen
your
to
eyes,
it.
your body language, Like, you want to know who's one of the greatest people about this? She's actually in our class right here. Susan, thank you for joining us. She's my role model when it comes about speaking Lashon Hara. She'll never say something not nice about anybody, ever. She has the nicest eye to look about that, right? And that's right. But speaking Lashon Hara can be done in many ways. And the problem with speech, you see, it's very simple. Not only that, the Talmud says if you speak Lashon Hara about somebody, they get all your mitzvahs and you get all their averos. Okay?
Supposing somebody works for you and you caught that person stealing and you fire them. You fire that person. And he goes to get a job and the new company calls you on the phone and wants to know something about him. Do you tell him to hire him? Do you tell him
no?
Okay,
so now but this point that you brought up is probably the most the point that is the most difficult for me personally about Lashon Hara, and that is because sometimes by not speaking you transgress the law of Lashon Hara. So Charlie, your case that you're saying is exactly this point, meaning that what happens is that okay, you go ahead and you go ahead and you find the guy who's cheating, you fire him. Then the next person comes in, they want to hire the guy. So when it comes to coming for a job or for marriage, right, for shidduchim, right, somebody calls you up and says, hey, I'm thinking of going out with person X or person Y or person Z, right? Right, and so at that point in time, so what happens? You have to know exactly what you can say and exactly what you can't say. Like you have to have this down because you have to really be very factual, right? Very factual on what they're asking you, right? And you have to give them the facts, and you can't embellish it, right? Meaning, you can't say, well, he stole thousands of dollars when he took $10. And for you that was good enough to get rid of it, but somebody else is not like that.
You can also be sued by the new employer or the former employee. So it's best to say to the guy, if you interview him, you'll be able to find out exactly why he's no longer with us.
Well, actually, there are laws that govern that, and basically what you can say is that they are either eligible for rehire or not eligible for rehire.
Oh yeah.
So what do you say?
Well, that's all you can tell. You can't tell why they were fired if they were fired, and it's very limiting, and it protects the employer.
Right. So it's very interesting, right? Because in Jewish law, you would be required to say what happened.
You are?
In Jewish law, you'd be required to if a person stole, you'd be required to tell them that the person stole money from you. Right. That you'd be required to, right? Because Lashon Hara, right, is passing along non-flattering information about somebody else, right? That would say in kind of that would probably be a good way to kind of to what I would say. But you have to be again, right? But in certain cases, you're required to, right? Somebody wants to marry this person, you can tell them, well, he's a wonderful person. You could accept everything he says at face value. Right? He's not honest. You can't say that he's honest.
But if you tell somebody something, isn't it that they're not supposed to believe it, but they can take whatever precautions they need just in case?
Oh, so very good. So now, and so then it's very good, right? Let's say, right, the person who hears it, right, so now it's your word. How does he know that that's 100% true? Right? And so You have to say, okay, I have to be concerned about it, right? But I can't accept it that it's true, right? Right?
What if somebody did tshuva?
Say it again. Aaron? Say it again.
Like, what if, like, okay, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
What if, what if somebody, did tshuva to, like, did something wrong and did tshuva and, like, let's say, somebody was working for you and they had a drug problem or something and they were stealing whatever, and then all of a sudden they don't have a drug problem anymore and they're trying to do whatever, and they you know what I mean? Like, and then
Right.
I'm just trying to come up with some type of transformation where they're no longer who they were, or they could have not been in sound mind when they did what they did.
Excellent, right? Because
Wouldn't be best
goes
to say
ahead,
it's our company's policy not to
and they-
discuss
and
personal
they-
information with anyone?
right? We believe that people could go ahead and could change, right? And so if people could go ahead and could change, so then at that point in time, so then sure, when they were with you, maybe they weren't honest, right? But maybe now they did tshuva, right? Maybe now they repented from what they're doing, right? And they changed, now became a different person, right? And so you always have to worry about that, right? And not only that, the Talmud says when you see a righteous person sinning at night, right? You should assume by the next morning that they already did tshuva, right? They already repented for what they had done. Right? So it's a fascinating thing that this thing of Lashon Hara, it's not just some carte blanche just across the board that this is what it is. Right? Is that we have to recognize and see that every person is unique and has special situations on what's happening. Right? And so and that's why to me this is probably the hardest mitzvah, is because you have to know all the details, and one detail can make the whole difference whether you're allowed to say something, you're not allowed to say something, what the situation is, how do you say what you have to say, right? All those types of things are things that we really have to learn to practice to learn to say the right thing. Right? So that kind of is something why, right? This thing about Lashon Hara to me is probably the hardest mitzvah. Okay, now we come to mitzvah 20 and 21. So these now happen to be fascinating commandments. Not to take revenge and not to bear a grudge. Okay? Not to take revenge and not to bear a grudge. How do we go ahead and what does it mean not to take revenge?
Not to try to get even with somebody if they do something to you.
Okay, so, and what does it mean not to bear a grudge?
Well, if somebody does something, you shouldn't hold it against them forever. You should, I guess, forgive them and not be mad at them permanently for whatever it is they did to you, which I think is much harder than not taking revenge.
So it happens to be interesting. Okay, so what does it mean not to take revenge? So simply not taking revenge, the difference between taking revenge and bearing a grudge is as follows, okay? Not to take revenge. I go over to my neighbor and I say, Rabbi Klein, can I borrow your lawnmower? And he goes, sorry, Benzi, you can't have my lawnmower. So I said, okay, fine. I said, I saw it in the back. It looks good. You sure I can have it? No, you can't have it. I said, fine. I said, my lawnmower broke. My lawn's going to be messy. He says, I hear that. Tough luck for you. Now, Rabbi Klein would never do such a thing. So we're using this as an example. Rabbi Klein actually probably tell me I couldn't borrow his lawnmower because when I go back to my house, he'd probably go and take his lawnmower and would mow my lawn for me. That's the type of guy he is. But let's just say it's like that. All right, sorry then. Right, Susan, am I right? Yeah, okay. Right, so...
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Right? So then what happens is the next week, Rabbi Klein's lawnmower breaks. And he comes over to me and he says, Benzi, could I borrow your lawnmower? Perfect example, and I say, sorry, you didn't lend me your lawnmower, I'm not lending you my lawnmower. Okay? And there goes Rabbi Klein, cannot have it. Best, I really need it, my lawn's messy. I said, tough luck. Right? Classic case, carbon copy, I took revenge from him. Okay? That is, I have then gone ahead and I have transgressed the mitzvah of not taking revenge. Now, what does it mean not to bear a grudge? So not to bear a grudge comes like this. Same story. Except this time when Rabbi Klein's lawnmower breaks and he comes over to my house asking me to borrow my lawnmower, I say, sure, I'll lend you my lawnmower because I'm not like you. Right? That's called bearing a grudge. Okay? And I cannot do something like that. Right? That is prohibition. Even though I give him my lawnmower, I actually gave him the action, I gave him my lawnmower. But I say, I'm just not like you. Right? I'm not bearing a grudge. Right? And so, but that's called, I've transgressed the prohibition of having a grudge. Okay? That would be the case of going ahead and bearing a grudge. Now, the Torah is very wise. Why do you think there's such a commandment not to bear a grudge? Or not to take revenge?
You wouldn't be loving your fellow man at that point.
I wouldn't be loving my fellow man. Okay, well then maybe he'll take advantage of me.
Well, that's his
Because
problem.
a grudge is hate, and hate destroys you.
Oh, okay. Very good. So, right. Number one is that, right, it could cause hate. Right, I'm going to cause them to be hated. And by the way, if the guy's a jerk, do you think it bothers him that you're a jerk back to him?
Oh, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you hate, hate destroys you.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It does nothing to him, and all it does
Okay, right.
is
Destroy
all
you.
it does is that it causes you, right, you're going to carry around this jerk on your back your entire life, and it's going to get heavy after a while, right? So, right, you're 100% right, Harry. It destroys you, right. We're the one right, we're the one that suffers, not the person who didn't do something nice to you. Right, that's for sure. Right? Now, you know, and as you go through life and you collect all these things that people, all the rocks that people throw at you, and you kind of schlep them along instead of just letting them go, right? So then at that point in time, it becomes very, your life becomes very, very difficult.
I heard a great quote about that. It says, anger is a gift you give yourself for someone else's mistake.
Anger is a gift
you give yourself for someone else's mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's you know, and from a Torah view, when something happens to us, right? Why did it happen to me?
Because God wanted it to happen.
Because God wanted it to happen to me, right? So if Rabbi Klein didn't lend me his lawnmower, right? Didn't lend me his lawnmower, whose fault was it that he wouldn't lend me? I mean, why didn't he lend me his lawnmower?
God didn't want you to have it.
Because God didn't want me to have it. Right? Now, Rabbi Klein could have 15 reasons why he said no. Right? But the bottom line is God didn't want me to have the lawnmower. Because if God wanted me to have the lawnmower, then what?
He would have said yes.
He would have said yes. Right? But he didn't say yes. Right? So that I didn't get the lawnmower was clearly because God didn't want me to have it. Right? So if God didn't want me to have this lawnmower, right? If that's really what it's all about, right? So why am I blaming Rabbi Klein? Right? Why am I'm angry at Rabbi Klein, but why am I angry at Rabbi Klein?
Rabbi, I have a question.
Yes.
I know you asked a question, but I have a question.
Yes.
Why does everybody do or not do as God intends?
Why? There's probably 50,000 reasons for 50,000 people.
Free
And
will.
probably actually, one person could have 50,000 different reasons why they do or don't. Right? What motivates us? Right? Why are we not doing it? Right? If you know God says it, so why don't I really? Right? Why is it not motivating me to do? Or what's not motivating me to do it? Right? Right? Meaning why? Right? Just take a look at ourselves. Right? There's some commandments we know that we're not doing. So, but I know God said it. So why am I not doing it? Right? And so I go, but not doing it because, well, I don't know. Right? And most of us, we don't want to think about it. Right? Because if we think about it, we get ourselves in trouble. So we just shut our brain off. Right? We don't bother thinking about it. Right? That's why. Right? That's why it's very interesting when, when people meet Orthodox Jews, they think that the Orthodox Jew is telling them, right? Is saying bad things about them or looking down at them. And, most of the time, I think people feel intimidated. Right? Here comes somebody who really takes seriously what God says to do. And why am I not taking it seriously the way that they are?
But the person who doesn't take it seriously, are they doing what God intends for them to do? That's the question I'm asking. Because it goes to the heart of your premise is that you didn't get the mower because God didn't want you to get the mower.
Okay.
And that means that Rabbi Klein did what God intended. But what if he didn't do what God intended?
Right. Okay, so good. So what happens like this. At the end of the day, okay, what do we control?
Fear of heaven.
Fear of heaven. Right? That's all we control. Do we control results?
Nope.
Ira, do we control results?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, I didn't hear you.
We just have to put in our effort. Let God take it.
Say that again, Ira. We just have to put in our effort, right? Right? Our job in this world is to put our effort in. God is the one who controls the results. Right? Right? That's really what we need to understand. Right? Is that God controls the results. Our job is to put the effort in. Right? So I'll give you an example. Did Pharaoh get punished for not letting the Jews go?
Yes.
All 10 times?
No, just the first 5.
No, just the first 5. Why? Because the second 5, right, God hardened his heart. Right? So
that was to give him back free will, so he could make his own choice.
Right. So you're too smart for me, Ira. Hold on. You're 2.0. You're way too smart for us. Right, Mark? What Ira was saying is that what happened was that when God hardened Pharaoh's heart, he made it that he wasn't afraid of the plagues, and since he wasn't afraid of the plagues, he could do what he really wanted, which was to not let the Jews go. Right? Okay. Right. But at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, our job, right? At the end of the day, our job is to put in our effort, right, to accomplish what we want to accomplish. Okay, 1 second. Charlie, you had a question?
Yeah, Rabbi, I think I can solve the lawnmower problem. I call upon Jesus. He comes once a week and mows my lawn. Jesus Rodriguez.
Okay.
Never mind.
Right. So what happens like this, right? So Mark, you understand what we're saying here? We're saying is that you control what you get. Virtually, what God will judge somebody on or not, right? It's going to be totally what God understands, what he's doing, what he's not doing, right? Right. That's clearly what happens.
So,
Right.
so here's my question.
Yeah.
And this is, I think that the 10 plagues is a great example. If Pharaoh had acquiesced after the first plague when he had free will,
Yeah.
would God have changed his mind because it was God's intention that the Jewish people should experience the 10 plagues?
No.
Right. So that's a great question. And Nachmanides asked this question that you're asking. And he basically gives two things. Either God, meaning saying that he said, why does Pharaoh get punished for enslaving the Jews? God already told Abraham 430 years before that the Jewish people were going to be enslaved. So he already knew it was coming down the pike. So he says that that Pharaoh should have said to God, you want me to enslave the Jews. God, I appreciate that. But you also told me I have to treat people properly, and that's not treating them properly, so I'm out of here. I'm not going to do it. And then God would have had two choices. Either to go find somebody who would do it, or to force Pharaoh to do it, but then Pharaoh would not have been punished at all because Pharaoh lost his free will. And that's really why you can never judge somebody else because you really don't know enough. Right? We're all lacking crucial information. Right? Is God making them doing it, or they're doing it on their own free will? Right? I mean, everything is right. It's just on the scale is way beyond what we can or cannot do. Right? And so that's why the Talmud, right? It says in Pirkei Avos, right? The only al dan eli yechidi, the only person who can judge somebody else is God. Right? Nobody else can judge anybody else because we don't know enough. Right? There's too much information. Right? And then with what were they born with? What desires do they have? Are they controlling the desires? Are they not controlling the desires? How much are they controlling the desires? Right? Their desires are something totally different than you. Right? So they come from a totally different place. So if they're coming from a totally different place, right? So then at that point in time, like they're not the same thing. Right, and therefore, no two people really are the same in anything. Right, and that's why we always have to be that's why we always have to be much smarter about this. Right, because we're so lacking. Right, in information. Right, so we go ahead and we just spout off about this when we really don't have any clue. Okay. Fine. Next commandment. Right. So again, those are the commandments. We can't take revenge. We can't bear a grudge. Comes now commandment number 22. This, my friends, very, very important. Okay, this is the commandment to learn Torah. Okay, meaning, right? If we have it, we're commanded to go ahead to learn Torah. Right? This is right. Why do we need to learn Torah?
We're here for.
That's what we're here for. Okay, good. Why else?
It puts you on the path for a righteous life.
Oh, puts you on the path for a righteous life, right? How do you know how to be righteous? How do you know to do the right? Right? If you don't have the Torah, you don't have an instruction manual. How are you going to know what to do? Right? Learning Torah is probably the most important thing that you can ever do. If you can start learning Torah, you're going to change your life.
Does that mitzvah deal with how much, how long, or how often?
Absolutely, of course.
So it was once a week for an hour?
It should be at least as long, as many times as you play golf.
Lately, that's not that. I'm learning more Torah than I'm playing golf, Rabbi.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. Right? Remember, so what's the answer? Right? So how much Torah are we supposed to study? So the answer is whatever we can, how much time we can find to study Torah. Right? Meaning that
could be a convenient excuse, though.
It's what?
That could be a convenient excuse.
Correct.
Oh, I can only find time for 1 hour, 1 day a week.
So who are you cheating?
Yourself.
Yourself. Who are you hurting?
Yourself.
Yourself. But not only yourself, you're hurting your family and all the people you come in contact with. Because if you learned more Torah, you become a better person. Right? You know what I'm saying?
So let me word it in the reverse. Can a person spend too much time learning Torah where they sacrifice their livelihood, their family relationships, that kind of thing? And
Absolutely.
How do you strike a balance?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Right? I mean, you have to know how to strike the proper balance. Right? But a person could absolutely do that. I mean, I haven't found so many of those people. But you should know. You should actually. It's not true. I had somebody who I felt was studying too much and not spending enough time on what he had to do. So I called
How about the Hasidim, Rabbi?
What?
How about the Hasidim who spend the whole life studying and they don't work? Their wife, they manage somehow.
No. So again, if a husband and wife decide that they want the husband to sit and to study Torah, and she's going to go and go earn money so that he can sit and learn Torah, that's an incredible thing, right? That's an incredible prerogative that they have, and not only that, it's a merit, and we should be helpful for them in that goal. The more Torah study that goes on in the world, the healthier the world is. And we're living in a world that's quite sick at the moment, right? Because there's not enough Torah being studied, right? Again, would I tell people that that's what they have to do? Absolutely not, right? Right? Again, right? Most of our people here, right? We have a job. We have to work normal hours in our job, right? And it's not because who decides how much money we make?
God.
God. There's only one answer to that question. Ira, who decides how much money we make?
God.
God, right? It's very simple. God decides how much money, right? So if God decides how much money we make, so then why do we have to go to work at all? Why can't I just sit at home waiting for the check to come in? My check, actually, my check came last week. It was direct deposited by the U.S. government. But right? So why can't I just sit at home and just say, okay, God, I want you to direct deposit the money straight into my bank account?
Ishtadlus.
Very good, right? Because we have to put our effort in, right? So this
you're not
really
a Democrat.
The balance of life, or the dance of life, is really learning to do the right thing at the right time in the right place, right? Meaning that there's the right time and place for everything, right? When really that's something that we need to learn, that balance, right? So the mitzvah of Talmud Torah gives us a you should study Torah every day, right? And that's why we say Shema in the morning, we say the Shema at night. Part of the davening has some learning of Torah in it, right? And then it depends what part of life we're in, right? Do we have kids at home? Do we not have kids at home? How old are our kids? How much help do our kids need? What about my wife? How much help does she need? Is she pregnant? Is she not pregnant? Right? Is she overwhelmed? And all the great plans in the world go out the window. Right? There's a hierarchy of how we have to go ahead. How we go ahead and how these things happen and what we have to do. Right? So learning the proper balance of this. Now, but you should know, on that time, the mitzvah of studying Torah, the value of the commandment to sit and study Torah is equal to all the other commandments together. If you put all the commandments on one side and you put the mitzvah of study Torah on the other side, the mitzvah of Torah study is even greater.
Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam.
Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. And I actually have a calculator here. Master Vilna Gaon once made a cheshbon. He said you could, every mitzvah Torah you learn is worth 48. You get 48 mitzvahs when you learn it. Okay, 48 mitzvahs, and he said you usually study 200 words a minute, which means every minute of Torah study is 96. It's 96. It's 9,600 commandments. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. 9,600 commandments you get for every minute of Torah study you do. Right? Torah study is your biggest bang for the buck.
Does that include class?
What?
Does that include class?
Is in class? Yeah, but you're in class now. You're studying Torah.
Well, but we're not like the whole time we're not reading it. Is that okay?
No, but you're listening. You're listening. They're not just reading it. That every minute you spend in the class, it's get roughly 200 words a minute. You're getting 9,600 mitzvahs a minute. Right? It's a pretty cool thing. Right? And so now we're commanded to study Torah. We got a lot to learn. Right? And by the way, just interesting. Right? You know how you get into the world to come?
Isn't it based on all the mitzvahs you've accumulated while you were here?
No. You try. How do you get into the world to come?
Begging?
One. Hint, it's the mitzvah we're talking about. Right? It depends on how much Torah study you're doing. Right? How much Torah study you're doing, how much Torah study you're supporting. Right? Because if you support Torah study, that counts in your ledger as well. But it goes to the amount of Torah study that you do. Right? You have to have connection to Torah.
You're not saying that any of the other mitzvahs don't count, though, are you?
Ari, you said it very politically correct. You are correct, and they don't count. I'm saying, that might help you get a nice cushiony chair, or whatever. But to get into heaven, it goes by Torah study. Right? It's an incredible thing.
What if you're a crappy person?
Okay, so that goes into the mix. Right? Now, I will tell you something fascinating, just talking about crummy people. God says the Jewish people were created to be really creepy, jerky people. You know that?
Stiff-necked.
No, not just stiff-necked. Not just stiff-necked. I didn't say stiff-necked. I said that we're jerks. We're created really as jerks. But the Talmud says God always gives the cure before the disease. Okay? What's the cure for us Jews being just not nice people?
I'm guessing Torah.
All right, good guess. Right? It's a study Torah, right? And so the Talmud says, so since God created the Torah before He created man, so then we see that God always creates the cure before the disease. Right? It's actually interesting. When Corona first showed up, and then they thought there was one Remstar, whatever it is, one of these medicines. I spoke to my father-in-law. He goes, Benzi, he says, this would be, if it's true, this would be one of the cases of where the cure, right, where the cure comes before the disease. Right? That we already had the cure, we just didn't know that this was the cure. Right? So, and And so the mitzvah of Torah studies is very, very important. Yeah, Tom.
So, Rabbi, does that mean that the millions of Reform or conservative Jews who do not study Torah will not make it into the world to come?
So first of all, they do study Torah, right? Right. There's a bunch of people in this class who belong to Reform synagogues, actually, who run them. Right. So they do study Torah. Number two, you know, in our generation, we actually live in a very funny time. You know, most Jews today, right, who do not study Torah, right, don't study Torah because they were never taught that that's something that they need to do, right? So it's almost as if in Jewish law, we talked about intent. Right? We started in the beginning of class. We talked about intent. So that in Jewish law, right, they're called they're a tinok shenishpa. They're a child that's been kidnapped and taken off to some place through no fault of their own, right? And so therefore, it's not something that they're even responsible for. But the good news is that I'm not sitting at the gates of heaven deciding who's coming in and who's not coming in. Right? I'm gonna leave that for God to do. Right? You know, it's very important to let God do His job. Now, my job is to make sure that Ira studies Torah. That's my job. You know, and to
Hineni.
That's my job. What did you say, Ira?
I said Hineni.
I know. I'm so proud of you. Right. That's my job. Right. That's right. All the people that I know. Right. My job is to try to get them to learn Torah, to inspire them to become greater people. Right. To become better Jews. That's my job. I don't have to worry about judging anybody. And that's
How
the good
are we
news.
judged if we grew up secular?
Say it again.
Like,
What?
how are we judged? Like, okay, you know, like, okay. So remember I texted you the other day and I was like, okay, now I think that now that I know certain things that I didn't grow up knowing, and the
Right.
things that I have to do, like now that I know, am I, okay, like before I was okay with not doing it, but now I'm not okay with not doing it. That's kind of what I'm thinking, am I right?
There is some truth to that.
And then do we have like some kind of growing, like do we have like baby step kind of growing? You know what I mean? Like do we have like a padding as far as when we actually have to do it perfect compared to?
Correct. Right.
Can I go back to blissful ignorance?
What did you say?
Can I go back to blissful ignorance?
Do go back to blissful ignorance. You know, it's very hard. It's hard to go ahead and to get to a place of where you know, to be blissfully ignorant of of our responsibility in this world. I mean, you want a lobotomy. I know lobotomies are good. You know, it really our job is to really.
Am I right though? Is that true?
Really our job. What? Really, say it again, Aaron.
Is that true though? Am I right in that assumption?
The answer is there is some truth to it, but it's not totally true. Right? Meaning our job in this world is to do our best. Right? That's what we need to do. We need to do our best. Don't worry about all the other different pieces of what is, what isn't. Just do our best. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really our job, and that's what we got to do. Right? Don't worry about what everyone else's job is. Right? You know what I'm saying? Or if I do this, then I'm going to put myself in a situation where.
I'm like,
Say it again.
No, I'm not wondering about anybody else. I'm seriously wondering about solely. This is a selfish question. I'm seriously wondering, like, what now? As far as before, I didn't have, you know, secular. I didn't have a reason to do half the stuff or even know how to do it, and now, like, you know, how does that change from an individual standpoint? Not everybody else. I got enough to worry about on this.
So you have to do your best. right? That's right. Life is all about us doing our best, right? And we have to strive to do our best. That's our responsibility, right? To strive to do our best. To say I'm not going to try because I'm afraid I won't be able to do it, that's probably even worse. Right? It means I have to try. It means I'm climbing the mountains. I gotta try to at least climb to the top of the mountain. Right? You know what I'm saying? And so I need to do my best by going ahead and doing that. You know, say I don't want to go down this because I'm going to learn too much information, and therefore then I'll really be held responsible. You know, I'm not sure that God would look upon that too favorably. And I said we got to do our best. You know, sometimes I say don't look at this because it'll change your life forever. You'll never be able to, make a decision without that. That's really what happens. And our job in this world is to try. Right? That's the part that we control. So we try to do the best that we can do. But the study of Torah is a big one. That's a very big commandment that we need to do. Okay. Then we go ahead and then we have the next mitzvah, mitzvah 23, to honor those who teach and know Torah. Right. So now, we're our job is to go ahead and to honor those who teach and know Torah. So the Talmud has a great line about this. The Talmud says that foolish are those people who stand up when a Torah scroll is brought into the room, but don't stand up when the Torah scholar comes into the room.
Is this connected to number 12 also? It's kind of like number. This is kind of connected to number 12.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me pull it back up. Okay, that's okay. Right. Commandment number 12 is to cleave to those who know Him. Right. So that our job is to come close and to be involved and to hang out with Torah scholars. Right. Here, number 23 is to honor. Right. It's the commandment of honoring them. Right. Okay. Right. So it's not just to cleave to them, but it's actually to honor them. Right. And how would you honor a Torah scholar? Stand up when he walks into the room. Right. Like that type of thing. Because we just like we treat a Torah, we want a Torah scholar has that we're on that same level of going ahead to make sure that we honor him for doing what he does. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that sort of is where we need to get to. Right? It's the process of honoring those who teach and know Torah. Because remember the Torah, and we're coming to the holiday of Shavuos, right? Which is tomorrow night, where God goes ahead and God gives us the Torah. The Torah, the way I kind of describe it almost as if the Torah is the most physical form that God can take. Right? If you can imagine that God is just energy. Right? There's nothing physical about God. Right? But it's this energy. Right? The energy, right? The most physical form that it can take is the Torah. That's why the Torah originally was black fire on top of white fire. Right? And so the Torah is almost as if the Torah is like God's mind. Right? That's what the Torah is. Right? It's God's mind. It's us being able to understand, right, the awesomeness of God.
If God created us in His image, then how can He just be energy?
What?
If God created us in His image, how can He just be energy?
So that's our soul, right? The image means that we have free will, that we're able to do things, that we have free will to be able to do things or not to do them. Right? But the Torah is the most precious gift and the most important thing that exists in the world. Right? The Torah is the lifeblood of the Jewish people. right? And part of our job is to learn to be able to, right? It's this is a way where we go ahead and where we become these great people, and that's really our job, right? To go ahead and to become the most godly person that we can become is through the study of Torah, right? We can emulate God. We can act like, right? We can act godly, right? We could, right? None of us want to be coarse and crass people, right? None of us want to be that way, right? So we have to. But so the Torah study goes and it's the sanding block, right? It changes us. It smooths our corners, right? It creates somebody. It brings us into a place, right, of becoming a truly vessel, right, of godliness in this world. Yes, Charlie.
Now, is that only the first 5 books, or the entire?
No, the entire Torah, right? The written Torah, the oral Torah, any part of the Torah, right? Torah is Torah.
And the Talmud as well.
Talmud, absolutely. You can't have the 5 books without the Talmud, because we have no idea what it means, right? What it's saying without that. Right? It becomes, right, it's something that is totally beyond us, and something totally different from what we have. Right? And really learning how to do this and to become truly a godly person. That's really what we need to get to. Right? To truly become a godly person, and hopefully be able to go ahead and to receive the Torah on Shavuos, right? We're right, the holiday, right? This holiday starting tomorrow night, right, is a holiday where we go ahead and we become godly people, right? Becoming to a place of becoming a godly person, right? That's very it's just very important, right? From us to come to such a place, to become to become such a great person. Okay, so there's good news and bad news. The good news is we got through 23 commandments, right? So that's good news for everybody here. And really, what we're with this last of the 3-part series, hopefully over Shavuos we'll have a chance to study even more Torah, and hopefully maybe read through them as kind of just as a fascinating list to actually to read through and to learn, and hopefully when it comes to the holiday of Shavuos that we should be able to receive the Torah, right? Receive it and to become godly people, right? And to truly merit, right, the ability to hopefully maybe be in Jerusalem, right, when this happens over here, and to maybe Mashiach should come. But if it doesn't, then we will continue our classes, or maybe even it does happen, but we'll continue our classes online after Shavuos, and wish everybody a happy Shavuos, and may we
When's your next?
together.
When is your next talk going to be?
My next talk actually Monday night. Monday night we're going to stream another class on actually the same ID at 7:30, and that's actually where we're going through the Chumash.
7:30.
7:30 Monday night. Alrighty, so everyone have a wonderful evening. Thank you all for joining, and
Thank you, Rabbi.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Rabbi.
Thank you.
Rabbi.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you so much for coming in.
Very good.
Feel free to join us on Monday night and Tuesday night and Wednesday night as well.
Thank you, Rabbi. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.